Hola, buenos días.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
This is Barb.
And this is Estela.
And welcome to
Cafecito
and Crime. Welcome back, sister.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome us back.
Yes, it's been a little bit. Welcome
a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Welcome to our podcast. If you're new, then hello, how are you? We had been a little bit MIA. Life has been lifing, and you know what? It happens. We're just gonna move on and
You take it one day at a time.
Take it one day at a time. Yes, we're both okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Our families are good. We're all healthy. But you know what? Sometimes it just doesn't happen. You know,
Then it gets a little hard.
it gets a little slipper slope.
Yeah.
So we are actually going to my city of birth. We're going to Dallas today.
Okay.
So when I saw the fun fact from today,
You didn't know?
that I did not know, I almost fucking fell the fuck out of my chair.
Really?
I swear.
Wow, okay.
Because today is a few days before my birthday. So
A week.
No, a week before my birthday. So
Yeah.
not a few, but by tomorrow will be less than a week.
6 days.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
by the time everybody else listens to it, it'll be
Yeah.
less. So it's before my birthday, basically, what I
Yeah.
was saying. Because Taurus Queens, yes. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm ready to go. So if you would like to join us in going to Dallas today, grab your cafecitos.
And let's get started.
So like I said, we're going to Dallas. And obviously, this is the birthplace of the Queen Bee myself, you know, because I am. But
See.
I could not believe this. And I even called my
Were
husband.
you born in Dallas?
I was born in Dallas in Dallas County. So my story goes, I guess my parents met in San Antonio. Then they moved to Dallas. And then my parents ended up in Dallas. That's where I was born. So the reason that I flipped the fuck out when I heard this was because the frozen margarita machine was originated in fucking Dallas.
Really?
Yes.
Like the first one?
The first one. So apparently, according to the, what is this thing called? Hold on, let me find it. According to redfin.com, Dallas has a legendary culinary history, and one of the most famous contributions to the culinary world is the invention of the frozen margarita machine in 1971.
Oh, it wasn't even that long ago.
No. The original machine is now on display at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History.
No fucking way.
Yes, fucking way. This intriguing fact showcases that the city's unique contributions to food and drink culture highlighted its creativity and innovation. If you're looking to house hunt in Dallas, then, you know, this is what you're going to be looking into.
What is house hunting?
House hunting. It said if you're looking into
I don't think that
moving into Dallas, I guess, the Dallas market. It said that it's worth exploring the city's rich culinary scene.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what does house hunting have to do with Dallas?
I was just reading off of what it wrote on there.
Okay.
Okay, not only that, but 7-Eleven's roots are in Dallas as well. 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I thought it was Canadian.
No, it's actually in Dallas. Its birthplace is in Dallas, one of the most widely recognized convenience store chains in the world. The first store opened in Dallas in 1927 and offered locals access, what the fuck, to necessary items like milk, bread, and eggs around the clock. Today, 7-Eleven has more than 70,000 stores globally, and it's a familiar part of their daily life for millions.
I think I don't know why I know why I said that. I thought it was Canadian, but it's because we did that one episode where they consume the most Slurpees in Canada.
Yeah.
That's why in that town. But okay, no, yeah.
So yeah, can you believe that? That was kind of a,
and then my birthday is 7-Eleven.
Exactly, it was meant to be. And then lastly is that
Wait,
the Texas State Fair is the largest fair in the U.S.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
So the Texas State Fair, held annually in Dallas, is the largest state fair in the United States, drawing over 2 million visitors each year. The fair is iconic Texan event that offers visitors a chance to explore its state-rich history, culture, and traditions, from fry food competitions to livestock. The fair is a unique and exciting way to experience Dallas and its local community. I actually went to the fair this last year, and it was actually pretty fucking amazing. I had a really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
I think I've only gone once, but
I had gone when I was younger, but it was nothing like I had remembered. It was so fucking cool.
I don't remember it. Like nothing. It was a while back too, at least a decade, I want to say.
Yeah, and nothing so totally different because people like to compare the state fair to the Houston Livestock and Rodeo, but it has
Why?
I don't know, but it has nothing to do with it. It's totally different. Like the fair is actually a fair. Like they have things and they sell stuff.
Yeah,
and then the
like
livestock
it's just like a carnival.
It's a carnival, but they sell vacas and shit.
Yeah,
like
it's more livestocky, rodeo-ish.
Like they have like the shows and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
the
nada que
concerts.
ver, pero.
That's really cool. I had no idea. And it's weird that you were born in Dallas and you didn't know these facts.
I didn't. I had no idea. I thought we were just
we're margarita girlies, so
I am the biggest margarita girl. When I literally was gagging and I called my husband. I'm like, bro, you will not believe what happened. And he was all like, you would be the only one excited. But I'm like, yes, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be discussing the case of Angela, which they referred her to Angie. So sometimes I'll call her Angie, sometimes Angela. Her middle name is Marie, and Samota is the last name. I don't know if you've heard of her.
I have not.
So she was born in September the 19th of 1964 in Alameda, California. When she was only 5 years old, her father passed away, and her mother was a single mom and raised 4 of her siblings plus Miss Angie by herself.
Yeah. So it was 4 including Angie?
No.
Or so 5 con Angie?
5 en total, yeah.
Okay.
After graduating high school in 1982, she applied to Southern Methodist University, also known as SMU, in Dallas, Texas. So this is a cool thing about Angie, is que she was studying computer science and electrical engineering. Okay. So at this time, we're talking about
the 80s.
The 80s, casi no había electrical engineering
for women. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and not only that, but she was fucking good. So she was going to be
like a boss bitch.
Yes. And most of the time, there were very, very, ¿cómo se llama? Minimal women in her class.
Limited.
So, limited.
No, not limited, but casi no había mucha.
Casi no había. No, porque las muchachas, pues, they would go for cosmetology, algo así más girly. Ella was like, no, I'm going to be an engineer.
Computer engineer.
Mm-hmm. Angela was very popular around in her school, and eventually she started to date a gentleman that was a little bit older than her. Se llamaba Benjamin McCall.
Okay.
He was like I said, he was older, so he was a manager.
Was he in college with her?
No, I was about to tell you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Él la conoció en un party, en un bar, y he was a few years older than her, and he was a manager at a construction company.
Okay.
Yeah. So él no tenía nada que ver with the school.
They just met outside of school.
Yes. At the beginning of her, career in the university, she would stay at a dorm with a roommate of hers, que se llama Sheila. So Sheila and her were like besties, dude. Y vivían juntas adentro de la
dorm.
Sí, en el dorm.
But the dorm was, well, obviously it's a dorm. It's within the campus.
Ándale.
Okay.
So then she was also a part of the Zeta Tau Alpha sorority. So she had a lot of friends.
Yeah, she had sisters, right?
Sisters and todo eso. And so she was very social.
Yeah, well, I mean, your social life is packed when you're in a sorority in college.
Do you remember that one girl that we did, La Señora, que she was even older and she would go with her out, the one that killed her husband for money? ¿Cómo se llamaba? I don't know, but if you haven't heard that episode.
And she was older in her 50s and she was still doing events for her sorority.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool. I've never.
That you have Sisters for Life. I've always seen that.
That is so cool. Like, I don't feel, I didn't get that opportunity to do that, but if I did, I mean, that would have been so awesome. I would be a good sorority sister. I would be like, Barbara, go fucking jump this fence, and I would do it.
Or organize events.
I'm an organizer. Stuff. I organize everything.
You do?
I make balloons.
No, you're a planner.
I'm a planter.
Like a event planner.
Sí, pero plantas no, porque las mato.
Yes.
We already know that. At one point, Angela decided that she wanted to live alone. So she said, you know what, I'm going to get my own apartment. And she was still near to the university, pero she moved out because she wanted to have her own spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was more of the townhome, and it was only 5 minutes from the campus. And she got a part-time job to pay her bills. So trabajaba como en los restaurants y así para pagar her rent.
Yeah.
So this brings us, I'm going to say that again. This brings us over to the night of October the 12th of 1984. This was a Friday night. Angie and her friend Anita and one of her male friends, Russell, went out to the actual state fair.
Okay.
So they were at the state fair a little earlier. The state fair closes like around 10, 11 por ahí. I think it's like 10. And That night, her boyfriend, Ben, did not go with them because he had to do something the next morning or he had to work or something. And he's like, dude, I don't want to go.
Y'all go ahead.
And I'll stay home. And they were going to stay out late. So after that, Angie y sus friends se fueron a un members only club que se llama Rio Room.
So this was after the fair?
After the fair. So they were like, oh, let's go to the club or whatever. And they stayed there at this Rio Room after midnight. So whoever remembers Angela being there remembers que cuando ella entró, everybody was just so happy to see her. Everybody knew her.
And so I'm assuming this was maybe the room was near the university.
Yes.
Maybe it was like frequented by university students.
That's true. Yeah. So everyone talked about how awesome she was and how much fun she was having and just saying hello. Andaba de mesa en mesa saludando así como cuando hace las quinceañeras a saludar todos. Mm-hmm. So she was just jumping around from one place to another, really bubbly. At one point, they did go home after that. And como Angie no había tomado mucho because she was going to be the designated driver, so she said that she was going to first drop off Russell. So at around 1 a.m., she ends up dropping off Russell. Okay. So Russell is the male friend.
El primero that she drops up.
So ella lo deja, which is on Matilda Street in the lower Greenville area, which is only 5 minutes from her townhome condo thing.
Do you know where that street is at?
I do know where Greenville is. It's a really old area. Pero I know...
You know the area.
I know the area.
Okay.
So it's around this, like in the downtown area, porque está la fair y luego está la school.
Oh, okay,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So, in her condo or townhome estaba on Amsbury Drive. That one, I don't know. And then, because I'm a Houstonian now.
Yeah.
And then the two women, both of them drove together. And they were actually going on their way to drop off Anita.
Right.
Pero Anita dijo que she was supposed to stay with Angie la noche. But the next day, apparently there was a big football game early que Anita needed to be at. So Anita dijo, no, mejor take me home.
Okay.
So dijo, okay. So she dropped her off at home. And on her way back,
to her townhome.
Ya dejó Anita at this point. She decided to stop at Ben's house.
Okay.
Because Ben estaba dormido, pues.
Okay.
And she said, hey, I just wanted to come by. She was a few blocks away and say hello. Ben was like, bro, it's one fucking morning.
¿Le habló por teléfono?
She just dropped by. Yo creo para ver qué andaba haciendo, tú sabes. Sí, just checking up on him. They proceeded to say goodnight. Okay. See you later. Ella le dijo, no, nomás pasaba a ver cómo estabas. And he's like, well, I have to go to work in the morning. So she's like, okay, I'm going. So se fue para su casa. And she was literally a few blocks away to her condo / townhome. Her boyfriend, Ben, said that around 1:45, él estaba dead asleep. He gets a phone call from Angie. Y le dice que her voice was really, really weird at first. Porque como que apenas lo oía. And she was kind of like trembling her voice, but at the same time talking really low. Mm-hmm. So at first he was like, what's going on? Why are you calling me at this time? And he could hear there's some noises were behind her. And then she goes on to tell her that a man had knocked on her door. Y que he was asking to use the phone and to use the bathroom.
Oh, absolutely. At 2 in the almost 2 in the absolutely fucking not.
And so then Angela didn't specify if the man was already in her house or if he was at the door.
Right.
So at this point, dice Ben que lo único que le decía, hey, is there a payphone close by? He could hear? No, ella le estaba diciendo a Ben, say, hey, do you know where there's a close by, like convenience store payphone? And so dice Ben que he was able to look it up in like the phone book y le dijo, yes, there's one on so-and-so en una
calle.
Corner store. Estaba una corner store enfrente y le dijo, allí está una. So dice Ben que he looked it up y le dijo, que le volvió, que él escuchó que Angela said the information que Ben le estaba diciendo en el teléfono.
To that person.
Yeah. Y entonces, after that, le dijo ella, okay, hold on, let me call you back. Le dijo a Ben.
Okay.
Y cuelga.
Okay.
She hangs up. And that was the last time that Ben was able to speak to Angie. So, yeah.
Let's take a quick break.
Persons of Interest is back. And it's bigger than ever.
That scream will echo in my head for many years.
Taser! She's gonna shoot!
Oi! Shot fired.
Stay out! You gotta go on you!
He had the perfect aim.
I am absolutely stressed at that point. I have no idea where my officers are.
Persons of Interest available everywhere you get your podcasts.
I mean, hindsight is 2020, but back then, like, Ben, I don't know. I feel like Ben should have been like, I'm on my way or something. You know, like,
but the thing is, remember, there's no cell phones. There's no way. So he's at home.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he would have been like, you know what? I don't know. That's the thing. Like, you just don't think that. It's just because at the time that it is, you know, like if your significant other was like, hey, somebody's knocking at my door at almost 2 a.m. asking to come inside my house, or quieren usar el teléfono, like,
so
no.
at this point,
be
it's
like, hold
unclear.
on, I'm on my way or something.
Yeah, at this point, it's unclear. Ben no está seguro si ella actually had opened the door if the man was in his house. So todavía no sabemos esto, but I'm going to get to that.
Okay, sorry.
So Ben waited a few minutes to see if Angela would call him back.
Yeah.
Y entonces nunca le habló. So then he's like, okay, no le gustó. So
okay,
then
he had a bad feeling.
Yeah. So then he drove to her house and he started to knock on the door. But there was no response.
And then, like you said, it was a couple of blocks away.
Literally a couple of blocks. So he then goes back to his car, which I thought this was kind of cool at the same time because he had a portable phone.
Oh, damn. Was it a brick?
It was a brick. Yeah. And not only that, but it was because he was a construction worker, so the company se lo había dado.
Okay.
So then he went back, grabbed his portable phone, get now a cell phone.
Yeah.
And he called Angie and said, then he said, I could hear the phone ringing inside of her house, pero ella no contestaba.
Yeah.
So he was just dialing parado afuera de la casa, del apartment. And she, you know how when you can hear it, pero no
through the door.
No contestaba.
Yeah.
So after that, he said that he was going to, she walked the guy over to the corner store to tell him, like, ¿dónde estaba el payphone? I mean, in his mind, he's like, I don't know what happened, right?
But tampoco you don't want to assume the worst.
So then he's like, pues déjame, voy a preguntar a la corner store. Literally, all this information that's going on, Estela, everything is like in the same fucking area. Like, blocks, como una calle, otra calle,
una cuadra,
like,
otra cuadra.
No está lejos.
Yeah.
So he actually went to the corner store.
¿Caminando?
No, like drove to the corner store y le dijo al señor que estaba allí, hey, you know,
did somebody come by?
Somebody come by, my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Y el guy le dijo que no había ido nadie, que él había estado solo toda la noche. And so then he's like, okay. So he goes back to the apartment.
And then I'm sure even, you know how the payphones are usually like outside. So I'm sure from where he was standing, he would have been able to see if somebody walked up to use a payphone or whatever.
Like that's what he said. Yeah. And the guy said, no habían visto a nadie. Mm-hmm. So then he goes back to the apartment and he calls the police. There's actual police audio of when he calls the police, right? Y les dice que, you know, his girlfriend called him, telling him that there was a strange man come at the door and that he just wants to make sure she's okay. Can somebody come and check?
Because she's not answering.
She's not answering. Todo eso. Mm-hmm. So it took Dallas Police Department 30 minutes to get there. So by this time, think about it. At 1:45,
le
habló. It took him only till 2:17. So he acted fast.
Yeah, because he, like you said, pasaron a couple of minutes and ya no le gustó que esta no le regresó la llamada. So he's like, I'm going over there. And like you said, it's not far. So I'm sure he probably got there, maybe 5 minutes at the most.
At the most.
And then he called.
Yeah, because he wasn't like walking. He drove over there.
Right. So he called. No pickup.
Yeah.
Went to the gas station. No, she wasn't here. Came back and he called the popo.
Yeah. So, I mean, he literally did that within like a little bit of time. So at this point...
but I know like every minute's of the essence.
Yeah.
You know,
so Dallas Police Department did show up 30 minutes late or later.
Yeah.
Y le preguntaron, he's like, hey, can you like break down the door? Because I want to get inside.
She was just inside.
And they were like, no. Yeah. We're going to call the complex to see if they can open the door with the key.
Okay.
So he waited until they called the complex and the complex was able to come by and open the door. The door. I don't know. Maybe back in the 80s, it wasn't like, I don't know. Anyway. So now at this point, when they open the door.
I mean, obviously there's procedures. You know, you just can't be like.
Well, I would, but it's just me. Anyway. So then next thing you know, the police walked in and he walked in with them.
Right.
Because he was like, I need a seat. Right.
Yes.
So then he said that when they walked in, they saw a shoe que estaba in the living room.
Okay.
Just a shoe. And so then when the police walked ahead of him to the bedroom is where they found Angie on the bed where she was surrounded by a lot of blood.
Oh my God.
So she was visibly not alive. So they told Ben to please step out. Now it was a crime scene. And she wasn't wearing any clothes.
Oh my God.
Police noticed many stab wounds.
Wait, was the shoe, I know you mentioned the shoe just right now, but was it a man's shoe?
No, it was her shoe.
Okay.
It was her shoe.
Okay.
So then they said that there was so much stab wounds, they didn't know where the stab wounds had began and where
It's just like
it was
blood
just
everywhere.
blood everywhere. And later on, they counted there was about 18 stab wounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so they did examine the crime scene, as they should. They found some fingerprints, bloody fingerprints that were in the restroom. So as Ben was telling them that she was in the restroom, they did collect those, saying maybe, I don't know, maybe they're the killers, But it was confirmed that it was later on that those fingerprints in the restroom were the killers. They also concluded that the killer took the knife out of the kitchen because there was a block of knives and one was missing.
Okay.
So he actually got the knife from there. And also, that's what he used as a murder weapon, and it was nowhere to be found. So se lo llevó. But there was no forced entry signs.
Well, yeah, it makes sense because, like you said, we didn't know si cuando she was talking to her boyfriend, Ben, que como tú dijiste, is like, we don't know if she, well, at least Ben at the time didn't know if she had actually let that person inside her apartment or she was just speaking over the door, giving him that information.
So eventually, I will kind of circle back onto that. So without a good DNA sample,
but like to at least right now at the crime scene, there wasn't no forced entry.
Nothing, no forced entry. Not only that, but like I said, noticed that she was undressed. So they did a rape kit on her body, and they did find DNA on the body of semen.
So she had
been raped,
sexually assaulted.
Yes. So some of the stab wounds, based on what the police department was saying, that they were so deep that it went through her heart, and so that's actually what had killed her, was
one stab
wound in her heart. Yeah. So back in 1984, there wasn't a lot of good DNA, collections and todo esto como hay ahorita. Like it wasn't the same.
It is not what it is now, obviously.
So they weren't able to connect the semen to anyone in particular, or that they were also not able to find whose blood that was at the door. Like there was not very much or fingerprinting or anything. The only thing that they were able to find with the semen was the blood type of the killer.
Yeah.
Which is not really
saying much,
right? So
it's something, but not much.
They started their investigation by looking into people around them and talking to her friends, like Alice and Russell that she had just dropped off, to see what was going on. And her friends were like, hey, I was with her, but I was here. Everybody kind of had somewhere where they were at. They're like, hey, let's look into Ben. Because, think about it. If somebody calls you in the middle of the night and they're saying, hey, she literally just called me and she just told me someone was here, but now she's dead. Like, it doesn't.
Well, yeah. Well, like you said, también when she was out with her friends, there was a whole bunch of people around, other witnesses that said, hey, nothing suspicious or nothing out of the ordinary pasó while we were out. Pero it just happened que she stopped by Ben's y luego le marcó that somebody was there.
So it just happened that way,
I know why it looks sus.
For sure. So then they started saying, hey, you know what? When we spoke to him, he wasn't in a panic to tell us that, that he was worried about her.
Okay.
So when they listened back to the phone call, like no estaba apurado para decir. But if you think about it, everybody reacts to things differently. We've talked about this in other cases también. Like not everybody is going to be like freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And some people.
Or maybe he just, like we say, you're calling just to make sure, but I don't think a lot of people actually think that something bad has happened, but they just want to make sure.
So they kept saying that the call was kind of iffy. So he said, hey, you know what? He actually gave his DNA and he gave his fingerprints so that they can compare to the fingerprints that they had gotten. And he gave his blood sample, but they were no match.
Yeah.
So that should have excluded him, right? So after talking to Angela's friends more, they actually started looking into one of Angie's ex-boyfriends. They told investigators that Angie had left them a while ago and that he actually would write her threatening letters.
Oh, la verga.
Y luego he had threatened her with a knife one time. So they were like, okay, well, maybe he had something to do with it, right? So
do you know how long, I don't know if this is going to matter or not, but I'm just wondering, how long has she been dating Ben? Do you know? Like,
yes. So actually, that was another thing.
Okay.
They had not been dating for a long time.
Okay,
no,
I was
had
just
not.
wondering.
Yeah, they had not been dating for a long time. So then they were like, "Hey, let's look at the same thing." What they had was the DNA from the blood and also the fingerprints. They checked it, and that ex-boyfriend was not a match.
really? Even though he threatened her with the
Yes.
knife, and she was stabbed,
And she was stabbed.
and he was writing
Not a match.
weird ass fucking letters. To
Weird
her.
ass fucking letters. Then they started to look into who was once again with Angie in the night of the murder, because at this point they're like, shit, pues donde vamos a empezar, ¿verdad? Pues no fue Ben y no fue el otro cocha. So they're like, okay, well, let's go and see. We're going to look into Russell. So now
I forgot about Russell.
the thing is, when Russell was looked into to discuss, hey, we
Al
have some
principio.
questions and
Yeah.
stuff like that, the next day he left the city.
Okay.
So that he was nowhere to be found after the murder. But he did return back home and he went in for questioning. It wasn't like se había ido and he disappeared
Not
forever.
like he was-
No.
estaba
So that
fugado.
the police was kind of like, ¿por qué te fuiste? You know, that bullshit. And so then but the thing is, he lived alone. Russell. No one had any way to confirm that he did not go back to her apartment.
Knowing that she was going to be by herself.
Exactly, because Anita had said, I'm going to go home. So who was to say that he didn't say, hey, ya me dejaste, te voy a ver en tu casa and I'm going to kill you. You know, there's no one to say that.
Yeah.
But Russell kept saying, no, I didn't have anything to do with it. You know, this is exactly what happened that night. And it so happens that the next day he needed to be at a wedding, which was a Friday. So the next day would be a Saturday, right?
Por eso se fue.
Well, duh. So he had a crush on Angela.
Yeah.
So-
but it doesn't mean he killed her.
Exactly.
But he didn't give his DNA or anything.
Well, yeah, hold on.
Sorry.
So
Getting
then
ahead of myself.
It's okay. They found out through talking to friends and stuff. He was a bit older than Angie también, but they had not known each other for a long time, igual como con Ben. Pero they said que he actually was like, hey, do you want to go out on a date? Or like la quiso como andar con ella, pero ella le dijo, no, I have a boyfriend.
Okay.
So
He was just like, oh, my bad. I guess.
yeah,
I'm
my
sorry.
bad. And he was her
Dude,
friend.
yeah.
Like, that's all that he wanted to do. So after that, they also thought that was kind of suspicious. Like, did you try to do something to her? And he's like, no, I'm telling you, I didn't do nothing. At this point, they're like, okay, so he doesn't match either. What do we do? Where do we go from here, right? But Ben did tell the investigators that Angie told them that when he was on the line with her,
Right.
she said that he didn't know who this was.
That's true.
She said, I don't know who there's this man at my door.
Right. If
So
not,
they-
she would have been like, hey.
Russell's here or so-and-so is here,
Or maybe
whatever.
if it had been Russell, she wouldn't even have called.
You're right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yes, you're right. So that kind of was also like, no, maybe, that kind of thing. There was a lot of maybes in this story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so detectives did not go by his word again. So they brought him, poor Russell. Literally, they brought him in again and again. Literally, they brought him in so many times, Estela, to where it was at a point where almost it was like harassment.
Oh, damn.
Because they were convinced that he had done
had something to do with it.
So, do you remember Sheila that I had mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sheila
Her ex-roommate.
was her ex-roommate, her best friend at
Yeah.
that moment. So, Sheila se llamaba Wysowski. It's W-Y-S-O-C-K.
Her last name?
Yeah. And she was her dyslexic friend. Dyslexia? She had
Dyslexic.
dyslexia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
So, no, nothing. That's what they would call her. They were like, oh, this is her dyslexic friend. Why
That's
does
weird.
that have anything to do
I'm
with
like,
it?
why
But
would you?
I don't know.
What?
So anyway, she didn't turn
This is
out
Barbie, my
ADHD friend.
friend.
But anyway, so, and I don't mind because I'll tell you straight up I'm ADHD. But she actually, they needed to keep an eye on Sheila because she's the bad bitch of the story. So she was so disturbed with the murder that she had to move back to her parents' house, and she would go and often check on the investigation. Like she started turning into like pushing them. And so ella les decía, okay, so have you done this or have you looked here? Like she was kind of consumed into the investigation.
Oh, she lost her best friend.
She lost her best friend and she was really worried. Like she just couldn't let it go. Yeah. So when they questioned Russell, like I said before, one of the times que they had gone in there, Russell was leaving y Sheila iba a ir a preguntar que habían escuchado, ¿verdad? Whatever. Like I said, they thought that it was Russell so much, like they were so sure that they told Sheila, we're sure that it was him, we just don't have any evidence.
¿Y Sheila conocía a Russell?
Sí, Sheila lo conocía.
¿Se juntaban también?
Se juntaban,
okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So then they said, hey, do you want to go out to dinner with him and ask him questions?
Oh, la querían así como,
Sí, como-
like bring her into the investigation,
Yes.
like a undercover.
Undercover. She was like, yeah, she was down.
Yeah, she was like, whatever it takes to figure it out.
But the thing is, once again, Russell decía lo mismo. He never changed his story. He didn't say anything. The girl, they even put a microphone on her.
Yeah.
Like she was
todo undercover.
Undercover. And Russell was like, it wasn't me. I didn't do nothing to her. I mean, yes, I liked her, but it didn't mean that I would have hurt her, right? And then still the detective said, Russell, you need to come in and do a lie detector test.
Okay, maybe this time, by this point, Russell's like, if this is going to get you guys off my fucking back, give me all the lie detectors that you guys, need me to take or
And
whatever.
guess what? He passed it.
Okay.
So he was like, I didn't do shit. Like, leave me the fuck alone, right? So they were so convinced that it was him. The day that they did the fucking
Lie detector
test, they even showed pictures of Angie's body to him.
While he was taking
Well, he would, to see if he would get a reaction. If they would get a reaction from him.
Wow.
Like
imagine seeing those pictures. Of course, se te va a alterar pinche corazón and shit. Se te va a subir la presión.
Y luego stabbed and raped. Y sin ropa.
And knowing that, that happened to her and they're showing you the crime scene.
Yes, and you're like, what? Well, he still was like, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I didn't do it. Right? They started showing now signs, like I said, of harassment. So he did lawyer up and he said, I'm not answering any more of your questions. This has gone too far.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they gone too far whenever they brought Sheila into it and trying to get her to fucking microphone up. But my deal is now you're showing me pictures of my ex-friend or my deceased friend, whatever, that I was with the night she died. Like, you took it too far. So he lawyered up and he said, no more questions. They did put him under surveillance.
Oh.
Okay. But then after a while, he's like, I can't do this. He left to London. So they had to stop monitoring him.
Was he British?
No, he went to go seguir sus studies.
Oh.
Yeah, he was an architect.
Oh, okay,
so he was going to school to become an architect. So se fue. He's like, you know what? I just need a change of...
Bro, he said, I'm fucking getting out this country.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
And your whistle. I'm fucking leaving.
Yeah.
If you know about that quote that I just said.
Yeah.
Fuck you and your whistle. Anyway, it was coming up to a point where it started to get kind of cold, the case. And so Angela's family even offered $10,000 of reward because they were like, we need to find something.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing. When they did offer that money, the investigators did have another lead of a man that was said that he was also in love with Angie and he had sent her also some not nice letters. But
how do you like somebody or claim to like them, but you're sending threatening letters?
Yeah, threatening letters to her.
Fuck?
But obviously, I mean, no tenía nada que ver. It was like a dead, whatever. Yeah.
People are so odd.
I don't know. Well, we've always said humans are horrible. And so there was nothing there. Tampoco. Anyway, we're moving on. Unfortunately, the case goes cold.
Okay, so it wasn't Ben. It wasn't Russell as much as they wanted it to be Russell. It wasn't the ex that threatened her with a knife and threatening letters. And it wasn't that other person that liked her. That liked her también and was threatening the shit out of her. Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the case goes cold, right? And until 1994.
Oh, like 10 years?
Yes.
Later?
Mm-hmm. So Sheila se casó and she had her 2 kids and she would like always call
and check up on the case.
Check up on the case. Like, she never let it go. And whenever I was looking up this story, I was like, man, if I had a best friend that would be this committed to what happened to me, like, it was the craziest thing. That was like the where I found it. It was like the biggest thing, like, get a best friend like this,
Yeah.
And so this girl would say that she would call so many times to the office
y no le
contestaban. Not only that, but she said that she thought that she had seen Angie, como que se le apareció Angie. Aww. And so she said after that, I could not let it go, right? At this point, she was going to the fucking office and be like, hey, y'all, don't forget my friend. Yeah. She's right here, right? And so then at one point she did tell them, hey, it's
but then, like, I guess I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off,
it's
but
okay.
like you said, her family was in California, right?
Yeah, her family was in California.
And Sheila was here in Dallas.
So she kind of like took over for them, you know. Y le decía, okay, I know that you're saying que we're in 1980, but now we're 1994. So things have been a little bit more advanced. So can you test the DNA that was found in the rape kit?
Now?
Try to see if you find something. You know, maybe you never know. We have some more advanced.
It's been a decade at the most.
So,
because, I mean, I don't know if you said it and maybe I just missed it. She was murdered in 1984?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So then they were like, you know what? I understand where you're coming from and you've been here and, you know, you call all the time and whatever. But the DNA and the rape kit was lost in a flood. So no hay nada. We can't, we don't have any
Does
information.
Dallas flood?
Well, they do have like tornadoes. But I don't know about, I mean, maybe at that area where the police department was, I don't know. So they just said there was a flood and it was lost. So now they're like
that blows my mind that shit happens like that.
Shit happens
where
like that.
evidence is lost or destroyed or misplaced that later could have solved the case, but ahora ya no puedes hacer nada because that shit's lost.
So once again, she's like, I kept seeing my friend. She would appear to me and she would say, hey, she would say nothing. She said she would just smile at her
and would see her.
And she's like, I can't let this go. Right. So next thing you know, she said that between this time and the time that she was told that the DNA was lost, she called 700 times. They fucking counted them, Estela.
Yeah,
she called 700 times to the police department because she was like, no, you're not going to forget my friend.
And you're not going to get rid of me.
You're not going to get rid of me. So she was like, okay, motherfuckers, if y'all don't want to, you know, do anything with it, like give me the DNA that you have and I'll have it processed myself.
I'll find somewhere.
She's like, I'll pay a private lab.
This was before they told her it was lost.
No. Because first they told her that the DNA of the rape kit was lost.
Oh, okay,
but remember that there was the fingerprints and other stuff?
Yes.
So she was like, let me have what you don't want to do, obviously, nothing
I'm sorry,
with.
what was lost was the semen.
Yeah, with the semen.
Okay, sorry.
And so then she said, they were like, no, you can't do that. Because you're just a citizen. Like, you can't. And she said at one point...
And they just can't hand over evidence like that.
And they said, you have no connection to the police.
Yeah.
So then at one point she said that someone was like, you know what? If you're not a private investigator, then what are you doing here? Well, guess what she did?
Stop.
She became a private investigator. Yep. And after several months, she passed her exam. And she said, okay, motherfuckers, I'm a private investigator now.
Give me the shit.
Give me the shit.
Oh, I wonder what the process is.
I don't know.
In that, like,
I don't know.
From a PI to, you know, taking over evidence from the police department.
I don't know, bitch.
I'm just curious.
But just the fact that Sheila was like, I'm going to
involve myself.
That gave me fucking chills.
Where you can't turn me away.
No, can you believe that? Like, what the fuck? Like, that is determination. Like, that gave me chills. Because by this time, I mean,
they're not doing it for whatever reason. You know?
I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but she was still unable to get the DNA from the police. I think that you have to be like, I don't know what the fuck they wanted her to be fucking the mayor and shit. So they told her we're going to move her case to a cold case unit, right? Mm-hmm. So la movieron para el cold case unit. And when she was there, as soon as they got the case in July of 2006, once they actually put the case over to the Unsolved Murders, Detective Linda Crum and Sheila worked together and they were able to find out that the DNA sample from the rape kit was not lost. Yeah. No.
Or it hadn't been lost in the flood, right?
No.
Because that's what they told her?
They told her it was lost in a flood. There was no fucking flood. It was not lost. It was in storage.
Do you think they thought it was lost?
They lied to her because of how many times she had called. They lied to her to get rid of her. Like saying, ¿sabes qué? We don't have it. Just leave us alone.
But you had the other.
Exactly.
Unit.
Finally.
Can you push for some sort of que los castiguen o algo
at this
a la
point,
verga?
she's probably just thinking,
that's the least of my problems.
That's the least of my problem. Okay, fine. You didn't lose the fucking DNA. Give it
Mejor,
to me.
honestly,
let's just do it, right?
We're here now.
So the DNA was sent out finally. Once they received it, they put it in through like data or FBI data or whatever. And that took 2 years, Estela.
Yeah.
It's not like on FBI, like on CSI, que te lo dan immediately. No, that took 2 fucking years.
After the commercial break, you get the results?
No. It took 2 years of the DNA for it to come, with anything. On February the 14th of 2008, they received the results of the DNA that was entered into the FBI database. And there was no way that the person that they had a hit on, it couldn't have been it. There was a 100% match. When detectives called Sheila, she was like, bro, de seguro va a ser Russell. She even thought, was like,
that's
okay,
what I'm thinking too.
It had to be Russell. There's a way that he just was lying or whatever.
Yeah.
But after 24 years, they had 100% positive match of a man by the name of Donald Andrew Bess Jr.
Who the fuck is that?
Well, let me tell you.
Okay.
To Sheila's surprise,
did she know who it was?
she had no idea. So at this point, this guy is in jail.
At that point.
At this point when they find this out.
2008.
He had already been some time in jail because he had been accused of serious rapes and molestations to certain women. And he was already in jail. So they didn't even have to go look for him. Ya estaba en la cárcel.
Okay.
So this piece of shit was born on September the 1st of 1948 in Jefferson County, Arkansas.
Está viejo a la verga.
Yes. By this time, he was around 60.
Yeah.
Cuando all of this came to. Yeah. So in 1977, he was put in jail for aggravated sexual assault of a young woman and also aggravated kidnapping. And he received 25 years in prison, but he was paroled out.
After how long?
In 1984.
Wow.
After 7 years, when he was 36 years old.
I know this happens all the time, but you get out, you're paroled, and right away you fucking commit another crime?
He got out for good behavior. Yeah. And he literally, in 1984...
Cuando
salió, right? So he did whatever he did to Angie. And then in 1985, he assaulted another woman, and that's when he was caught. With that woman, that since he was on parole, now they gave him a life sentence.
Pero did he kill the woman after Angie?
No, she was alive.
Okay.
After getting all the information, they went to go talk to him.
Donald, right?
So le preguntaron a Donald, hey, ¿qué pedo que pasó con Angie or whatever, back in whenever? Y él le dijo que no, que he had never harmed a woman y que he had never even seen Angie.
Oh, he had never harmed a woman? Woman? Then why are you in prison for?
Never.
What are all your previous convictions for?
Not only that, they were all made up. Todos puras pinches mentiras, puras fallas. Okay? And not only that, pero he had I just can't believe these fuckers have the fucking balls, the audacity to say it wasn't me. Like, bitch, who the fuck? Anyway, he had 100, remind everyone, he had 100%. There was no one else that it could have been but him. Yeah. Now, at this point, since he denied all of this shit that he was involved in, they go to trial, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Days before Donald's hearing, the fucking dumbass had a heart attack. Stupido. But he didn't die. So they had to postpone the trial. And after all of that, fucker was, no sé, moribundo a la verga. His trial actually finally began in June the 2nd of 2010.
This was like almost barely 14 years ago.
Yeah. Not only that, but he's like, I didn't kill anybody.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. And his lawyers try to say que it wasn't him, that he has really health problems, and that he was...
science does not lie, motherfucker.
Never. So que look, he's behaving well now. See, bitch. But as soon as they let him out... Anyway.
Well, I mean, why was he in prison in the first place? Multiple times.
Yes. So according to investigators and what they could gather, they think that this is what happened. So Donald actually saw Angie at one of the bars that they were
frequented. They were there that night.
They were there that night, and he began to follow her home. And when she arrived, he knocked on the door. And so
right away.
Like, because la estaba siguiendo hasta la casa de Ben y luego whatever.
A ver si iba sola para alguna parte. He was probably just watching her.
So cuando llegó al apartment,
se metió sola.
No, se metió sola y él le tocó y ella no le abrió, pero cuando quiso como a ver quién era, like, he put his foot there para que no le cerrara. This guy was like, he's huge. He was like 6 foot or something like that. So this girl, he pushed the door open y ella no pudo con él. So se metió.
So I don't know if you're going to get to. So I'm just curious about the call con Ben.
So then after that, I guess he was like trying to talk to her y ella se agarra el phone immediately y le empieza a hablar a Ben.
So the guy was in the home.
Yes, the guy was there. And they actually think that he was actually there when Ben arrived to check on her.
Pero por eso no le abrió la puerta.
Por eso no le abrió.
So se salió cuando aquel se fue a la gas station a checar.
Yeah. And so then they think that ella quiso gritar y cuando quiso gritar, he started stabbing her.
That's why he killed her because
he killed her. He didn't kill anybody else. Yep. So he killed her because she was going to scream.
But 18 stabs?
18. Because I guess he just, I don't know.
In the heat of the moment?
I don't know. I don't know if he got mad or, I don't know if he got scared or whatever, pero he stabbed her. Y luego cuando se fue Ben, he left right after. So he was actually still there when Ben was knocking on the door. Because like I said, the amount of time, there's no way someone could get able to rape someone. Like, let's say right after she hung up with Ben, he attacks her, right?
Right.
And the time that it takes.
Like we were saying earlier, Ben llegó not that.
No, he didn't take at all long.
Yeah.
So then this was all over the news, right? So at this point, everybody is like, hey, finally we've got this guy, whatever. When this came out on the news, other girls came forward that had been assaulted by this motherfucker. It was more than one person, right? And even one of his ex-wives had gone to the court to testify against him that Donald would beat her constantly and would rape her a lot,
oh my God,
like crazy amounts of time. Not only that, they were married in 1969. While she was pregnant, he would rape her and beat her, and then she was able to get away from him. And 3 years later. 3 years later, she did have a daughter with him, and she was able to hide, and
no la pudo encontrar. Oh my God.
Yeah. So after all of this happened, he was sentenced to death on June the 8th of 2010. He tried to appeal.
Yeah. That's automatic. We know that.
3 times. And he was denied 3 times. Once in 2013 and once in 2014. And another time, I think I didn't catch that one. But in October the 8th of 2022, he died of a heart attack, awaiting his execution. Yeah.
And he was older by now, I guess in his 70s by now.
Yeah, he was in his 70s,
Yeah.
So after this, people were like, if it wasn't for Sheila, this would have never fucking happened.
Been solved.
Never.
Imagine.
You imagine? That fucking DNA would have sat there, Estela.
Collecting dust.
Like, allí nada más, porque nadie lo estaba buscando. Nobody was trying to solve the case. So she started a non-profit organization porque la gente le hablaba para ayudar, para pedirle ayuda. Like, oh, I know you helped solve this case, so can you help us? And she started helping a non-profit organization. So she started her own, and I think she named it after Angie. Also, the other thing that was really concerning for was Russell. Russell was able to say, "Hey, bitch, I told you it wasn't me." And the Dallas Police Department did actually apologize to Russell. Les dijeron que, hey, dude,
especially because it had been so long. The detectives that
my bad. No, ya te creemos, güey.
You can come back.
You can come back. So he actually did come back to Dallas, and he's a very well-known architect in Dallas. And he said that the only thing that was so scary to him was that he was going to go to jail for something he did not fucking do.
Which happens a lot.
That's what he said.
It's so
He's
sad.
Like, I was just so scared. So he just tried to get away as much as he could. And that's why he moved to London. But he did come back to the city, and he's a well-known architect. I kind of want to look up his work because he sounds like
Maybe you've been in some of his work.
Maybe I have been in some of his work. Not only that, but the investigators still have in the back of their mind that Donald might have had more victims in the time that he was out because he was not wasting time, but nobody was coming forward, and that there might be more victims that nobody was ever talked about.
That's so sad.
And that is the case of Angela Samota, aka Angie.
Oh, well, that's crazy. I can't believe that.
That was a lot of twists and turns.
That man, trash took itself out.
Yeah. And you know what? I understand that, as her family, they were probably like, we want to see him die, but, at this point, as long as he's dead. Honestly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's no longer
And the
breathing
fact
the
that
same
he
air.
didn't even have the nerve to say, hey,
Own up to it.
I did it, or hey, this is why I did it. I was a sick person, whatever, like anything. Pero no, dijo que no había sido
Así se
él.
murió,
Y
denying
así
it.
se murió, denying it. Yeah. So thank you for everyone that has been listening to us. Thank you so much for being patient with us. We really appreciate the fact that you guys have been really, they have asked us or the followers on Instagram, hey, are you guys okay?
Mm-hmm.
That means a lot to us. We are okay. Like I said before, just life has just been kind of crazy, but you know what? There's nothing we can't get through. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can at
Cafecito and Crime Pod. And you can also download our episodes. You can listen to us anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And you can leave us a review and or rate us. And we would really appreciate it.
Let us know what you think about this one, and we'll see you or talk to you in the next one. Bye.
That was the table, not me.
No.